Hi everybody, welcome back and thank you for joining me again. Today I'm going to tackle some heavy subjects, but do not despair. I'm going to get to the royals in this video, and today you are going to hear things many others would not dare to talk about, but that is me straight to the point without excuses. And if you hear background noise, that is my fan. It is really by far too warm to switch it off. Anyway, I honestly do not have the heart or the guts to tackle all those Epstein files and look at them individually. There are literally thousands. And not only that, but I think my mental health and own mental state is not exactly stable enough to handle it all. But I have downloaded and screenshot some, and when I see something I go back and I try to cross-reference it just to make sure that what we see is indeed really there. One of the email which shocked me most is one from a man called Ken Turner. The email is dated the 27th of July 2019, and I cannot really tell you who it was sent to. All of that was redacted. But in the email he makes very serious allegations. In the first part it almost sounds as if he is accusing the NSA, CIA and the US State Department of trying to cover up certain stories by eliminating or trying to eliminate people. The second part is the one I want to quickly talk about. In the second part, Ken Turner suggests to whoever that they investigate the ex-US ambassador to Mexico, Earl Anthony Wayne, about his involvement with an underage girl. Well, that is an understatement, because the girl was only 11, a baby really. He described how Marcinko and Epstein was involved in arranging a party in Juarez, Mexico in 2014, after which a Richard Marcinko was sentenced to life in 2017 for impregnating that poor 11-year-old. However, allegedly, for legal reasons, the DNA of the baby matches that of Earl Anthony Wayne 100%. Allegedly, the fact that Marcinko went to jail is as a result of a deal between the United States of America government and the Mexican president, or so they say. Epstein, however, himself had a grandiose idea to seed the human race, 20 women at a time, at his Zorro ranch. His idea was to craft a superhuman race. How far they got with their research is unclear, but it is said that they were ready to start with their first batch of babies. However, from certain email, it certainly looks like Epstein himself may have fathered a number of children from random women and young girls. Among the many documents released were email from a Sarah, whom we assume to be Sarah, York, let's call her that, at the time. The email is sent to Jeffrey Epstein, but it appears to be a reply to someone else whose name was indeed redacted. The email dated September 21st, 2011 reads, "Don't know if you are on this BBM, but I heard from the Duke that you have had a baby boy. Even though you never kept in touch, I'm still here with love, friendship. Congratulations on your baby boy, Sarah." XXX. Now we also assume that the Duke is Andrew. 8 minutes later, this email is followed with another. You have disappeared. I did not even know you were having a baby. It was crystal clear to me that you were only friends with me to get to Andrew. And that really hurt me deeply, more than you will know. Then there was the 2002 diary entry written by an alleged victim of Epstein's, which alleges that she gave birth to a little girl at the age of 16 or 17. So a child born in 2002, 2003 would be 23, 24 years old now. The diary entry includes a copy of a scan dated at 20 weeks gestation. Allegedly, the baby was taken from the young mother about 10 minutes after the birth. The girl alleges that it was all done under the supervision of Ghislaine Maxwell. Obviously, I cannot tell whether any of this is 100% true. But it looks so. It does look like there could be verifiable evidence. But now comes the questions. Depending on how long Epstein had been going at using young children, and I'm saying children because allegedly he also abused young boys, but surely there must have been more pregnancies than only these two. And I don't mean only from Jeffrey Epstein himself, but from all the other men he brought into his home and games and onto his island. There's even the possibility that Andrew could or may have fathered a baby or two or three for all we know. Or the same would apply to Bill Gates or Bill Clinton. And then there's also talk of someone like George Bush Sr. or George Bush the First, as I see most of you prefer to call it. Well, having had his you-know-what in the honeypot. So, for all we know, there may be young adults walking around being a descendant of George Bush, for all we know. My fear and concern is, where are those children now? There are also 6 stories of ritual sacrifices of young children, but of course one will likely never know the truth about that. But again, where are these children? What happened to them? Jeffrey Epstein's brother Mark says it is all nonsense and that Jeffrey Epstein never had children. Well, he would say so, wouldn't he? I mean, he would really be far less pleased if he had to share the little that was left of Jeffrey Epstein's estate with someone else, wouldn't he? Now, talking about Mark, how thoroughly has he been investigated? I don't see much other than his business interests, the building he owns, etc. But I do get a strange feeling about him. I find him cold and rather emotionless. Apparently almost 100 people had claimed to be Jeffrey's children, obviously hoping for a portion of his estate. Now, I have no idea whether they had been given DNA tests or not, but if not, then I guess we will never know whether they were indeed his children or not. My other concern when it comes to the likelihood of these young girls falling pregnant is that it is becoming clearer and clearer that not every girl made it off that island alive. There's even talk of Andrew hurting one of the girls so badly that he asked someone else to unalive her. There's also another story of an 8-year-old tied to a table and tortured by Ghislaine while Andrew and other men watched. Most of these claims are indeed, and I must make it very clear, unverified. But the email, DMs and statements in which these claims are made indeed does exist, as you can see on my screen from time to time. So what are we actually to think or do now? Are there little Andrews or even little Charleses or little Harrys running around out there? Is the Crown actually helping to raise them, at least financially, or do they purely pay someone to eliminate the problem? There is certainly talk of other royals like Charles having fathered at least 2, maybe 3 children out of wedlock. But unlike Albert of Monaco and his predecessor, Charles II, Charles III has never acknowledged any illegitimate children. There are also rumors that Harry has 2 children besides Archie and Lily, one living in England and one apparently somewhere in America. There's even talk that Prince Philip had a child or 2 out of wedlock. The thing is that although no one seemed to care whether these children have royal blood or not, there is a huge risk not knowing who your husband or your wife or your friend or your boyfriend or your girlfriend are. And it does not say much of a leader and even the leader of a church if he ends up abandoning his own flesh and blood. Now, just quickly to go back to the Epstein saga, it is my opinion that most of these men in the Epstein files be arrested, their DNA taken, and that they are forced to testify to all of it. Because I heard it say that Andrew cannot be forced to testify in front of the committee. And I can understand that he is a foreign dignitary. But if he has charges against him, if he is arrested, then indeed there can be an exchange and he will be forced to testify. And I think that is what should happen. I mean, if they can't find anything, then the court case is thrown out and he is free to go, which is the way it should be. And then he is also exonerated and all this shite will stop. But if he is indeed guilty of anything illegal and found to be so in a court of law, then Andrew or Bill Gates or Bill whoever should go to jail, taken off the streets, safeguarding the people and the public, and they should be put in prison. Anyway, I do believe that charges should be brought, okay, and they should be arrested, and their DNA should be taken. And after they've been forced to testify, their DNA should be tested against these 100 young people who claim to be children of Jeffrey Epstein. The truth cannot and should not be hidden forever, even if Donald Trump, and to quote his own words, want us all to forget and get over it. Well, I don't think we should get over it. I honestly don't, because if we get over it this time, that means there will be a next time and a next time and a next time. The world needs to make an example of these men. We need to take a hard stance and we need to protect our children. Okay, guys and girls, that is it from me for today. I will see you again on the next one. Take care. Bye.